The night was colder than usual. The streets were dark, quiet, and almost empty. Wind moved through the narrow alleys, carrying pieces of old paper and dust with it. The city lights flickered weakly, but the night still felt heavy, like it wanted to swallow every sound and every shadow. In that silence, a woman walked alone. Her steps were slow. Her body trembled. She wore thin clothes that did not match the freezing weather. Her face was hidden under a hood, but even from a distance she looked different. She was not like others in the city. Her skin glowed faintly in the moonlight, but she tried to hide it with the hood and long sleeves. She was tired. Her body shook from the cold. She hugged herself, trying to stay warm, but it did not help. Her breath turned into white smoke in the freezing air. Each step seemed harder than the one before. Still, she walked. She had no choice. She reached the first house on the street. With weak hands, she knocked. Knock, knock. Knock, knock. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a light turned on inside. Footsteps came closer. A voice asked, "Who's there?" She tried to answer, but her voice cracked. "Please, help me." The door opened slightly, and a man looked at her. His eyes narrowed when he saw her strange face in the dim light. Without a word, he closed the door quickly. The sound of the lock clicking was louder than her knocking. She stood there for a moment, staring at the closed door. Then she lowered her head and turned away. One house. One rejection. She moved to the next house. Her feet dragged across the ground. Again, she knocked. This time, an old woman peeked out from behind the curtains. The woman's eyes widened. Then the curtain dropped. The door never opened. 2 houses. 2 rejections. She kept walking. House after house. Door after door. Her knocking grew weaker each time. Some people shouted at her to go away. Some ignored her. Some simply stared in fear. By the 10th door, her body was shaking so much she could barely stand. By the 12th, she was almost falling to her knees. By the 17th, her eyes were heavy, her vision blurred, and her strength almost gone. 17 doors. 17 times she was turned away. She stood on the dark street, looking up at the sky. Snow began to fall, soft and slow at first, then faster. Tiny flakes touched her hair and melted on her cold skin. She wanted to cry, but she had no tears left. Her mind whispered to give up, to stop walking, to close her eyes and let the cold take her. Maybe it would be easier. Maybe no one would ever care, but something inside her refused. A small voice told her, "Keep going. There is still one more door." Her legs felt like stone, but she forced them to move. Step by step, she walked toward the last house at the end of the street. Her body leaned forward, weak and desperate. She reached the door, her hand lifted slowly, shaking badly. She knocked. Knock, knock. Knock. The sound was soft, almost lost in the wind. She knocked again, using the last of her strength. Then she waited. For a long moment, nothing happened. Her head lowered, ready to accept another rejection. But then, the sound of footsteps came from inside. The door opened. A warm light spilled out onto the street. A man stood there, looking at her. He was young, maybe in his 20s. His eyes met hers, and he froze. He saw her pale, glowing skin. He saw the strange marks near her eyes. He realized she was not human. The woman's knees gave out. A cue. She fell forward, too weak to stand. But before she hit the ground, the man caught her. "Hey, you okay?" His voice was surprised, but not filled with fear like the others. Her lips moved slowly. Her voice was only a whisper. "Please, don't close the door." The man looked at her for a moment. He could see she was freezing, shaking, and close to death. He should have stepped back, should have done what the others did. But instead, he opened the door wider. "Come inside," he said firmly. The woman blinked, confused. She had been rejected 17 times. Why was this human different? Her body was too weak to question it. She leaned on him as he helped her inside. The door closed behind them, shutting out the freezing wind and the falling snow. For the first time that night, she felt warmth. For the first time, someone had not turned her away, and as she stepped into that house, she wondered why. Why did the 18th door open when all the others closed? The answer was still hidden. But she knew one thing: her story was only beginning. The warmth of the house wrapped around her like a blanket. After so many hours in the freezing streets, it felt almost unreal. She stumbled slightly as the young man guided her inside. Wooden floor was warm under her weak steps, and the soft light from the lamp above made her blink several times. Her eyes had grown used to the dark. The man closed the door quickly, locking out the cold wind and the snow. He turned to her, concern in his eyes. "You're freezing," he said. "Sit down." She wanted to speak, but her lips were stiff. Her body shook violently now that the cold air was gone. The man helped her to a chair near a small fireplace. The flames danced, casting shadows across the room. The heat from the fire touched her face, and for the first time in hours, she felt alive again. He hurried into another room and returned with a blanket. "Here, take this." She pulled the blanket tightly around her shoulders. The simple act made her eyes water. No one had done this for her before, not on this planet. The man crouched in front of her, studying her face carefully. His eyes narrowed, not in anger, but in curiosity. "You're not like the others, are you?" he asked softly. Her heart skipped a beat. Fear returned. She pulled the hood closer around her face, but he had already seen. Her skin glowed faintly in the firelight. Thin silver lines ran across her cheeks like marks or scars, though they were natural. Her eyes were brighter than human eyes, reflecting the fire in strange ways. He did not step back. T did not scream. He only asked again, "What happened to you?" She opened her mouth, then closed it. She had spoken to no human before. She had been warned never to reveal the truth. But tonight, after 17 closed doors, after almost dying in the snow, something in his eyes told her he would listen. "I am not from here," she whispered slowly. Her voice was soft, broken, but honest. The man tilted his head. His lips pressed together as if he wanted to deny it, but the evidence was before him. He saw the truth in her face, in her shaking hands, in the way she looked different. She lowered her gaze, ashamed. "I am lost, alone." The man stayed silent for a moment, then stood. He walked to the kitchen, poured water into a cup, and brought it back to her. "Drink," he said. Her fingers shook as she took the cup. The warmth of the water spread through her body as she swallowed slowly. It felt like life itself was returning piece by piece. The silence between them grew heavy, but it was not unfriendly. She could hear the crackling of the fire, the soft ticking of a clock on the wall, the distant sound of the storm outside. Inside the house, it was safe. Finally, he asked, "Why were you out there?" Knocking on doors, her eyes filled with pain. She took a deep breath. "I had nowhere else to go. I needed help, but every door was closed." She looked at him, her voice breaking. 17 doors. He looked down at the floor as if ashamed for the others. "And mine was the 18th. She nodded. Something in his chest tightened. He had never believed he was special. He was just an ordinary man living in an ordinary house. But tonight, something extraordinary had walked into his life. He studied her again, noticing the frost still clinging to her hair. She looked fragile, but there was also something powerful, something strange about her presence. He felt a mixture of fear and fascination. "You don't have to be afraid," he said softly. Her lips trembled. "But you are not afraid of me." He paused. He thought about it carefully. Any other human might have slammed the door shut. But when he looked into her tired eyes, he saw. Not a monster, not a threat only. Someone desperate, someone in pain. "No," he said finally. "I'm not." The firelight flickered across her face as she looked at him with disbelief. No one had ever said that to her. On her world, she had been hunted. On Earth, she had been rejected. But here, in this small house, one human said he was not afraid, for the first time in a long while. She felt something she thought she had lost forever: hope. Her body relaxed slightly under the blanket. She closed her eyes for a moment, letting the warmth sink into her bones. The storm outside grew stronger, but inside the house, the silence was peaceful. The man watched her carefully. Questions filled his mind. Who was she? Where had she come from? Why was she here? But he did not press her. He could see she was exhausted, too weak for answers. Instead, he placed another log on the fire and said, "Rest. You're safe here." Her eyes opened slowly, and she gave him a look filled with quiet gratitude. "Thank you," she whispered. Those two words carried more weight than he expected. They were not just thanks for the blanket, or the water, or the fire. They were thanks for the open door, for the first act of kindness she had received on this planet. As the night deepened, she sat in the chair, wrapped in the blanket, her eyes half closed. The man sat nearby, watching the fire, his mind racing. He had no idea what tomorrow would bring. He had no idea what kind of danger might come with her presence. But he knew one thing: he could not let her go back into the cold. Outside, snow covered the street, hiding the footprints of the 17 doors that had rejected her. Only the 18th door remained open, and with it, the start of something neither of them could yet understand. And somewhere far away, unseen eyes searched the city. Looking for her, the storm was only beginning. The fire burned low, filling the small house with a soft orange glow. Outside, the storm howled louder, snow covering every street and every roof. The world seemed to vanish in the white silence. Inside, however, two strangers sat close to the fire, one human, one not. The young man sat on the floor with his back against the wall, arms folded, watching the alien woman carefully. She sat in the chair, wrapped tightly in the blanket, her head bowed. For a long time, she had said nothing. Her breathing was slow, heavy, as if each breath carried the weight of years. At last, the man spoke. "My name is Daniel," he said. Quietly, his voice was calm, almost gentle. "If we're going to sit here all night, I should at least know what to call you." The woman raised her eyes. For a moment, she hesitated, as though speaking her name was dangerous. But something in his gaze encouraged her. "I am called Leora," she whispered. Daniel repeated it softly, as if testing the sound. "Leora?" She nodded once. Silence returned, broken only by the crackle of the fire. Daniel leaned forward, curiosity growing stronger inside him. "You said you're not from here. What did you mean?" Leora's hands tightened on the blanket. Her glowing eyes avoided his. "If I tell you, you will send me away, like the others." Daniel shook his head. "I let you in. I'm not like the others." Her lips trembled. She wanted to believe him. For a long moment, she stared into the flames, as if they could give her courage. Finally, she pulled back the hood completely. Daniel's breath caught. Her face was beautiful, but not human. Her skin was pale, faintly silver, glowing like moonlight. Thin, natural lines ran across her cheeks and forehead, forming delicate patterns. Her eyes were bright, almost too bright, with golden rings inside them. She looked fragile and strange, but also strong, like something ancient. Leora watched him closely, waiting for fear or disgust. Waiting for the same reaction she had seen 17 times before. But Daniel did not move away. He only stared, filled with awe. "You're real," he whispered. "Not from this world." "Yes," she said, voice heavy. "I am not human. I come from a place far away, a place you cannot see in your night sky. I came here because I had no choice." Daniel leaned closer. His heart pounded, but not from fear. "Why? What happened to you?" Laura closed her eyes, memories flashing behind them. When she spoke, her words trembled. "My people. They sent me away. They said I was different. They said I was dangerous. I ran, but they followed. I thought this world would be safe. But they came after me. I have been hiding for so long. And tonight, I almost froze in the dark." Daniel felt his throat tighten. The idea of someone hunted, rejected by their own kind, struck something deep inside him. He thought about the 17 doors that had closed in her face. The way she had almost collapsed outside his own. "You've been running all this time?" he asked. She nodded slowly. "Everywhere I go, I am unwanted. I thought humans would be different. But when they see me, they turn away. Their fear is stronger than their kindness." Her voice cracked. "I thought. Maybe your kind was better." Daniel clenched his jaw. Shame filled him, not for himself, but for his people. For the 17 who had rejected her. He leaned forward, speaking firmly. "Not all humans are the same. Maybe most will close their doors, but not me. I let you in because I saw someone who needed help. That's enough." Leora looked at him, eyes wide, shimmering with tears. She had expected fear, anger, rejection, but instead she saw kindness. Her voice was soft. "Why? Why would you risk helping me? You do not even know who I am." Daniel thought for a moment. Then he said, "Because someone had to. Because you knocked 17 times, and no one answered. And I couldn't let you die out there. That's not who I am." Her lips parted, but no words came. Her chest ached with something she had not felt in years. Hope. For a moment, there was peace between them. The storm raged outside, but inside the firelight, it felt like a fragile bond had been formed. Then suddenly, Leora's head turned sharply toward the window. Her golden eyes widened. Her breath caught. Daniel frowned. "What is it?" She stood quickly, the blanket falling from her shoulders. Her glowing skin brightened in fear. "They are near," she whispered. Daniel stood too, confused. "Who's near?" Leora stepped back, eyes fixed on the window. The snowstorm outside glowed faintly with strange lights, moving lights too steady to be lightning, too strange to be human. "The hunters," she said, voice shaking. "They found me." Daniel's heart raced. He had no idea what kind of danger was outside, but he knew one thing: he had just promised to protect her. He looked at her, his voice firm. "Then they'll have to get through me first." Leora's eyes locked on his, full of fear, but also disbelief. Could one human stand against what chased her? Could one open door change everything? The answer was still hidden, but the storm outside was no longer the only threat. The storm outside beat against the windows, but the strange lights cut through the snow like blades. They glowed red and blue, moving in patterns too sharp, too controlled, to belong to anything human. The glow spread across the white-covered street, creeping closer to the house where Daniel and Leora stood. Daniel's heart thumped. He had never seen lights like these. They moved with purpose, with intelligence. "What are they?" he whispered. Leora's face was pale, her golden eyes wide with fear. She backed away from the window, pressing herself against the wall. Her glowing skin flickered faintly, betraying her panic. "They are hunters," she said, voice breaking. "They came from my world. They follow me wherever I go." They will not stop until they take me back, or until I am gone. Daniel swallowed hard. His hands curled into fists, though he had nothing to fight with. How many? She shook her head quickly. Too many. You cannot face them. No human can. The lights grew brighter. A low humming sound filled the air outside, unnatural and cold. It vibrated through the glass of the window, through the floor beneath their feet. Daniel felt it in his chest like a warning. For a moment, he thought about telling her to run, to leave his house before these things arrived. But when he looked at her trembling hands and exhausted face, he remembered her words, 17. Doors had closed. He closed his now, she would not survive. No, he muttered firmly. I said, you're safe here. I meant it. Leora looked at him with disbelief. If they see me here, they will destroy this place. They will hurt you. Daniel's voice was steady. Let them try. The lights stopped moving. For a moment, the street was silent except for the storm. Then came a sound, 3 sharp knocks at the door. Knock, knock, knock. Knock. Daniel froze. It was not the knock of a neighbor, not the knock of a human. It was heavy, precise, almost mechanical. Leora's breathing quickened. Do not open it, she whispered urgently. The knocks came again, louder this time. Knock, knock, knock. Knock. Daniel felt sweat on his forehead. Though the room was warm, he stared at the door. Every instinct told him to stay quiet, to pretend no one was home. But the lights outside grew brighter, shining through the curtains, painting the walls red and blue. Whoever or whatever they were, they already knew. Daniel, Leora whispered, her voice trembling. If you protect me, they will not forgive you. They will mark you. You will become their enemy too. Daniel turned to her. His chest tightened. But his decision was already made. Then I'll be your enemy with you. Her eyes widened, filled with shock. No one had ever said such words to her before. The knocks stopped. A silence fell that was heavier than sound. Then a new noise started, a scraping, metallic sound near the back of the house. They weren't only at the front door. They were surrounding the place. Daniel's pulse raced. He ran to the kitchen, grabbing the first thing he could find. Heavy iron bar he had kept near the back door for repairs. It was no weapon against aliens, but it was all he had. Leora followed him, her steps quick, her fear clear. You cannot fight them, she whispered again. Daniel turned, gripping the bar tightly. His voice was low, determined. Maybe not. But I won't hand you over. Not after you came this far. The humming sound outside grew louder, almost unbearable now. It shook the walls, rattled the windows. Snow swirled violently in the glow of their lights. Then, suddenly, the front door handle moved. Slowly, firmly. Daniel raised the iron bar. Leora pressed herself against the wall, her golden eyes glowing brighter as if her fear triggered some hidden energy. But then, just as the door creaked slightly, the humming stopped. The lights outside dimmed. Silence returned. Daniel frowned. What? What happened? Leora did not answer. Her breathing was fast. Her gaze locked on the window. Slowly, she shook her head. They are testing you. They want to see if you will give me up. They always wait. They always return. Daniel lowered the bar slightly, but his body stayed tense. He looked out through the curtains. The street was empty again, covered in snow. But he knew she was right. Something was still out there, watching, waiting. The fire in the room burned lower, leaving more shadows than light. Leora sat back down, wrapping the blanket tightly around her. She looked fragile again, exhausted from fear. Daniel put the iron bar aside and sat across from her. He could still feel the echo of the humming in his chest. He didn't know how to fight creatures from another world. He didn't even understand why they wanted her so badly. But he knew this, if he'd let her go, if he opened the door like the others had closed. She would be gone forever, and for some reason he could not explain. That thought filled him with anger. "They'll come again, won't they?" Daniel asked. Leora nodded weakly. "Yes, they never stop." Daniel leaned forward, his eyes firm. "Then we'll be ready." Her eyes lifted to his. She whispered. He nodded. "You're not alone anymore. Not while you're here." Her lips parted slightly, as if she wanted to argue, but no words came. Instead, a single tear rolled down her glowing cheek. Outside, the storm continued. Snow covered the streets, hiding the tracks of the hunters. But somewhere beyond the white silence, they were still there waiting for the right moment. Inside, for the first time in her life, Leora was not waiting alone. The fire had burned low, leaving the room filled with long shadows. The storm outside had slowed, but the silence was not comforting. It was the kind of silence that waits before something worse arrives. Daniel sat at the edge of his chair, staring at the faint glow of the window. His grip on the iron bar had not loosened. He replayed the sound of those heavy knocks in his mind. They had not been human. No ordinary visitor would knock like that, then vanish into the storm. Behind him, Leora sat still, wrapped in the blanket. Her eyes were half closed, but she was not resting. Her body trembled faintly, not from the cold this time, but from fear. Finally, she broke the silence. "You should not have let me in." Daniel turned his head quickly. "Don't say that." Her golden eyes lifted to his. "It is the truth. They will come back, and they will not stop. If I am here, you will suffer too." Daniel leaned forward, his voice steady. "And if I had closed the door like everyone else, what then?" She lowered her gaze. "I would not be here now. I would have frozen in the snow." His chest tightened. The thought of her lying lifeless outside, another forgotten shadow in the storm, filled him with anger. "Exactly, that's why I let you in." Her lips trembled. "But you do not understand. They do not forgive. Once they mark you, they will hunt you too. A human cannot fight." Daniel's grip tightened on the iron bar. "Maybe I can't fight them, but I can choose. And I choose not to let you die." Her breath caught. She stared at him as if she had never heard such words before. "I've been running all my life," she whispered. "Every place I went, every face I met, fear followed me. I learned one truth: no one helps, no one stays. Not for me." Daniel shook his head firmly. "Then tonight, you learn a new truth. Some people will help. Some people will stay, even if it's just one." Her eyes glistened with tears she had held back for too long. The firelight reflected in them, turning them into tiny golden suns. "Why you?" she asked softly. "Out. Of all the humans, why did you open your door when the others closed theirs?" Daniel thought for a moment. He did not have a simple answer. Maybe it was because he couldn't stand the thought of someone freezing outside his house. Maybe it was because, deep down, he had always believed kindness mattered more than fear. Or maybe it was something he couldn't explain. An instinct that told him this was important. "Because it was the right thing to do," he said finally. "And because no one else did." Leora's lips curved slightly, not quite a smile, but close. It was a fragile expression, like something long forgotten. But the moment of peace did not last. A faint hum began again, distant but growing. Daniel froze. Leora's body stiffened. The hunters were near once more. She stood, clutching the blanket tightly. "I must leave," she said quickly. "If I stay, you will be destroyed with me." Daniel stepped in front of the door. "No." Her eyes widened. You cannot stop them. He looked at her firmly. Maybe not, but I can stop you from walking out there alone. If you go, they will find you. If you stay, at least we have a chance. Her breath shook. Why risk everything for me? Daniel's voice grew louder, sharper, as if the storm outside had ignited his spirit. Because you deserve one person. Who doesn't turn away? 17 doors closed. Mine didn't. That means something. The hum outside grew stronger, pressing against the walls. The lights flickered through the curtains again. Leora's eyes filled with fear, but also something else, trust. Slowly, she let the blanket fall from her shoulders. Her glowing skin shone brighter in the dim room, as if she had accepted his choice. Then we stand together, she said softly. Daniel nodded. Together, the humming stopped suddenly, replaced by silence. Heavy, sharp silence. Then another knock. This time, not on the front door, but on the back. Knock, knock, knock. Daniel gripped the iron bar tighter, his knuckles white. Leora stood behind him, her glowing eyes fixed on the door. He turned his head slightly, speaking to her without taking his eyes off the door. Whatever happens, I won't hand you over. Her voice was steady now, stronger than before. And I will not run anymore. They stood in silence, two against the storm, two against the hunters outside. The knocks grew louder. The shadows of strange figures stretched across the curtains. The moment of choice had passed. Daniel had made it, and now there was no turning back. The air in the small house grew heavy, as if the walls themselves could feel the danger outside. The humming sound returned, deeper now, vibrating through the windows and floorboards. Snow pressed hard against the glass, glowing faintly red from the hunters' strange lights. Daniel stood by the back door, iron bar in his hands, his chest rising and falling fast. Leora was behind him, her glowing skin brighter than before. Her golden eyes locked on the shadowy figures. Moving outside, the knocking came again. Knock, knock, knock. It wasn't human. Too sharp, too cold. Then came a voice, metallic, distant, yet clear through the walls. Give her to us. The one who does not belong. Open the door, human, and you will not be harmed. Daniel's grip tightened. He wanted to shout back, but his throat felt dry. He glanced at Leora. She stood tall now, though her hands trembled. They are lying, she whispered. If you give me to them, they will not spare you. They never spare anyone who helps. Daniel turned his eyes back to the door. His heart pounded, but his voice came steady. Then they're not getting you. For a long moment, silence answered. Then the voice returned, colder this time. You have chosen wrong. The knock stopped. Instead, the handle of the door twisted, slowly. Firmly. Daniel raised the iron bar, sweat dripping from his brow. The lock rattled, strained, then stopped. The sound moved to the windows. One by one, the glass rattled as if invisible hands pressed against them. The whole house groaned. They're trying to get in, Daniel muttered. Leora stepped forward, her skin glowing brighter. They always test the walls first. They cannot break them, they will break the ones inside. Her words sent a chill down Daniel's spine. Suddenly, the front door slammed with a violent force. The wood shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Again. The sound was so loud it echoed through the house. Daniel ran to the front, iron bar ready. His pulse roared in his ears. He could see the wood cracking where something heavy struck it from outside. Stay back. He shouted to Leora, but she moved beside him, her golden eyes fierce. No, I will not hide any more. The door shuddered again. Splinters flew from the frame. One more strike, and it would break. Daniel's mind screamed at him he was only human, holding nothing more than a piece of iron. What chance did he have? But when he looked at Leora, standing strong despite her fear, something inside him grew firm. He refused to give her up. With one final strike, the door burst open. The cold storm blew inside, carrying with it tall, dark figures. Their bodies shimmered like shadows made solid, with glowing red lines running across their forms. Their faces were hidden behind masks of black metal. 3 of them stepped inside. The humming filled the room, louder now, pressing against Daniel's skull. He clenched his teeth and lifted the iron bar high. The first hunter stepped forward. "Human, move aside." Daniel shook his head, sweat running down his temple. "Not happening." The hunter tilted its head. "Then you will fall first." It lunged. Fast. Too fast. Daniel swung the bar with all his strength. The metal clashed against the hunter's arm. A shockwave ran through his arms, nearly knocking him down. The hunter barely moved. Daniel staggered back, gasping, but did not drop the bar. The second hunter stepped forward, raising a long, blade-like weapon that seemed to form from its arm. Red light pulsed across it. Daniel braced himself, ready to fight again even if it meant losing. But before the hunter could strike, Leora stepped forward. Her skin glowed fiercely, brighter than ever before. Golden light spilled across the walls, clashing with the hunter's red glow. "Enough," she cried, her voice echoing unnaturally. The hunters froze for a second. Their masks turned toward her. Daniel blinked, shocked. He had never seen her like this. Her body radiated power, not just fear. The air itself seemed to vibrate with her. Energy. The hunters hissed in unison, their voices metallic and sharp. "She awakens." Leora raised her hands. Light burst from her palms, golden and pure. It struck the nearest hunter, throwing it back into the snow outside. The sound shook the street. Daniel's jaw dropped. She wasn't just running. She wasn't just weak. She carried something inside her, something powerful. But the other 2 hunters advanced quickly, their weapons glowing brighter. Daniel stepped beside her, iron bar raised again. His voice was hoarse but steady. "You're not fighting them." Alone, Leora looked at him, eyes filled with something new, hope mixed with fear. Together, they stood against the hunters. One human, one alien. Weak against the storm, but unbroken. The hunters hissed again, moving closer. The fire inside the house flickered violently, as if even it was afraid. But Daniel's grip tightened on the iron bar. Leora's golden light pulsed. Brighter. The confrontation had begun, and neither side was willing to back down. The storm raged outside. But inside the broken house, the real battle burned. 2 hunters stood in the doorway, red light pulsing from their strange weapons. Snow blew in around their shadowy forms, painting the floor white. Daniel's breath came fast. His arms ached from the weight of the iron bar. His body was small compared to theirs, fragile compared to their machines. But still he stood, blocking the path to Leora. Beside him, Leora glowed like fire. Golden light spilled from her skin, from her hands, from her eyes. She was trembling, but her voice was steady. "I will not go back," she said firmly. "Not this time." The hunters hissed, their metallic voices echoing. "You belong to us. The human cannot save you." Daniel tightened his grip, sweat sliding down his face. His voice cracked, but he spoke loudly. "Maybe I can't save her with strength. Maybe I can't fight like you, but I can choose. And I choose to keep the door open." The hunters tilted their heads as if confused by his words. Then they attacked. One rushed forward, blade glowing red. Daniel swung the bar with everything. He had the clash sent pain shooting up his arms, But he did not fall. Leora raised her hands, light bursting out. Pushing the hunter back, the second hunter moved faster, its weapons slashing toward Daniel. He ducked, barely missing the strike. His heart pounded, fear screaming inside him. But he didn't step aside. He would not let them through. Why? The hunters hissed, their voices sharp. Why risk yourself for one who is not your kind? Daniel shouted back, his voice raw, filled with fire. Because that's what humans do. We help, we protect. Even when it's hard, even when it's dangerous. That's what makes us different. Leora's golden light flared at his words, brighter than before. It filled the room, driving the shadows back. The hunters staggered, their forms flickering as if the light burned. Then Daniel stood tall, his body shaking, but his spirit unbroken. 17 doors closed on her, but mine stayed open. And that's enough to show you what it means to be human. The hunters screamed, a horrible metallic sound. They raised their weapons again, but Leora stepped forward now, her light blazing. She reached out with both hands, her voice rising. No more. A wave of golden energy exploded from her body, flooding the room, blasting the hunters backward, into the storm. Their red lights dimmed, their forms cracking, fading into nothing as the snow swallowed them. Silence followed. Only the wind remained, howling through the broken door. Daniel collapsed to his knees, the iron bar falling from his hands. His chest heaved, his arms trembling from exhaustion. He looked up at Leora, who still glowed faintly, though weaker now. She swayed, nearly falling. He caught her, holding her steady. "You did it," he whispered. Her golden eyes met his, shimmering with tears. "No," she said softly. "We did it." For the first time in her life, she was not alone. For the first time, someone had stood beside her. Daniel smiled faintly, despite his exhaustion. Guess humans aren't so useless after all. Leora's lips curved into a real smile, fragile but bright. "No," she whispered. "You are not useless. You are extraordinary." They sat together in the ruined house, surrounded by snow and silence. The hunters were gone for now. The danger was not over. But something had changed. Daniel had proven that kindness could stand against fear. That even in the face of impossible odds, a single human choice could make all the difference. Leora leaned against him, her voice low, filled with wonder. "On my world, kindness is weakness. On my world, no one opens their doors. But here, with you, I found something else." Daniel looked at her gently. "You found humanity." She nodded slowly. "Yes, humanity. And it is stronger than I ever imagined." The storm outside began to calm, the snow falling more softly now. Dawn would come soon, painting the sky with light. Daniel and Leora sat quietly, their bond unspoken but unbreakable. 17 doors had closed, but the 18th had opened, and it had changed everything. In the silence of the morning, a truth lingered in the air, one that even the hunters could never erase. Humans were not the strongest. Humans were not the fastest, but humans had something no other race could match. The courage to care, the will to protect, the choice to stand when others turned away. And that choice, Daniel knew, was what made humanity truly powerful. Leora closed her eyes, resting against him. For the first time, she felt safe. For the first time, she believed there could be a future. Daniel looked at the broken door, the snow beyond, the empty street. He tightened his arm around her. 17 doors closed, he whispered. But the 18th stayed open, and that's enough. The fire crackled softly. The storm faded, and the story of one human and one alien, bound together by kindness, was only beginning.